Welcome to our community. Susie Thomas with you this morning. Always a pleasure to welcome Amy Miller from Ohio Means Jobs to the studios. Good morning.
Good morning. It's always great to be here.
Well, I want to take a different turn with you today.
All right. We're going right.
We are. We always talk about how to find a job. We're always talking about best practices for putting together a resume and interviewing and presenting yourself well. Well, Amy, I think we did such a good job at that everyone's employed.
We rock.
Oh, we really do. Everybody's employed. So now we still have employers who need to find people, yes?
Yes, absolutely.
Talk about that a little bit. You recently had a job fair in Tuscarawas County, and how many people?
Yeah, we did. We had a job fair down in Tuscarawas County. We had 78 employers, which is the most employers we've ever had at one single job fair. And we actually had, I believe, 83 signed up. So if you actually did not come, and then if you actually, who were not signed up, showed up. So it was amazing that all of these employers are in one place. And our requirement whenever we have a job fair is that an employer has to be hiring. Mm-hmm. You know, we don't want people coming trying to just hang out.
Promote their business.
Yeah, promote their own selves. Mm-hmm. We want people who are actually hiring. So I think that that's really important. So we had 78 employers at this job fair. We had about 250 people go through. Now, when you look at that versus the economy back in 2008, 2009, you know, goodness, I can't believe it's almost 10, it was 10 years ago.
Yes.
It was the exact opposite. You know,
Yes.
we might have 30 employers and 700 people.
Yes.
So right now, you know, that job fair was a very positive experience to show that the market is still strong. There are still a lot of opportunities out there for people. So that's good for the job seeker. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit tougher for the employers.
Absolutely. How do you find really great people to build your staff without basically spiriting them away from someone else?
Well, isn't it we talk about networking and the importance of who you know?
Yes.
You know, that really is something that's important.
I will confess, that's how I hired.
Yes.
I would be like at a volunteer thing, and I would see somebody being a super, really good volunteer, or somebody who's really got the secretarial skills down pat. They were just amazing. Well, when it comes time to hire somebody, those are the people that come to mind. You think, okay, how do I find that person and bring them here?
Yes.
So talk to me about it.
Well, you know, we talk about the hidden job market, and I think you and I have maybe mentioned this before, but there's just, of all the jobs that are out there, there's a very small percentage that are actually advertised. And by advertised, I mean, you know, on the internet, in the paper, whatever the mechanism might be of getting the word out, very few. That's because employers traditionally like to do exactly what you talked about. They see someone who has done a great job, or they have someone in their organization that does a great job for them, and they say, hey, do you know anyone? Mm-hmm. You know, again, that's the power of networking and making sure that you're making those connections, because that's really how employers are finding out about really good people. So you know, a lot of it is making sure, no matter if you're looking for work or not, as an employer, that you are staying awake, alive on social media, you know, that you're making sure that you're connecting through LinkedIn, that your business is being in the forefront, that people are talking about it. But there are also some other things that we can do as well.
You want to be an all-star profile on LinkedIn for sure.
Absolutely.
So whatever LinkedIn is telling you that you still need to do that so you're an all-star.
Yes.
Take care of that right away. Also, I always treat LinkedIn a little bit different than the other social media. Basically, if somebody wants to connect with me, I say yes, and it doesn't matter if I know them or not. I'm only that way with LinkedIn. Am I unusual in that sense?
I don't think you are, and I'm the same way. You know, the idea of LinkedIn is that you're making professional connections, and a lot of the times that professional connection might be you've had contact with someone in the past, or you know somebody who knows somebody, and now that person's trying to connect with you. It is better on LinkedIn to have a very large network, because the more people that know that you know what you need, either as a job seeker or as an employer, the better off you are.
Mm-hmm. I used to always hear people say, almost with a disgruntled tone of voice, oh, it's who you know. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And I never thought that was bad. It's who you know.
Yeah. I don't think it's a bad thing either. And yes, you definitely hear the disgruntled voice when that comes to when that sentence is said.
Why?
But really, you want to have someone who's good. You
Yes.
know? And why would you not want to hire someone who, you know, your top employee says, hey, this is the person I know. I worked with them, or I've had experience with them. I know they do a great job. I think they'd be a great asset. Oh my goodness, that is just such a powerful
Bring them in here.
recommendation.
Yes.
And, you know, we've seen in hiring, you know, just from our point of view as a agency that hired ourselves, people for our staff, we have found that we'll advertise, we'll put a job out there, we'll get people in for interviews, and half of them won't show up because they received another offer. Or if we have maybe interviewed them a second interview, we go to offer them the job, they accept another position. So really, you have to be very fleet of foot as an employer at this point. You cannot delay your decision-making process.
Because you'll lose the good ones.
Absolutely.
When it boils down to it, aren't we always hiring? Really? I mean, even if there's no open position and you find out about somebody who's just really good, aren't we really always kind of hiring?
Yeah, that's really true. I think if we're being effective employers and effective businesses, that we always have to keep our eyes open for the next great person. There is just... It's such a difficult thing right now to find good people. When you see that person out there, hey, maybe I don't have a position today, but I'm going to have a position coming up, or maybe I need to realign some things to make it a fit for this person.
We'll find something for you to do.
Yeah, exactly. But a few years ago, they've been like, no. But now you really have to think that way. It's completely a reframing of how we think about hiring people.
Yeah.
And it's an important thing to start doing.
Both of my kids, just to prove a point, both of them are at places right now where a position was created for them to be there. So, that just happens.
Yep.
So how do we make that happen? How do we present ourselves? Let's go back to the person looking. There still might be somebody they're new in town and they're like, wait, I don't have a job. So how do we make that person present themselves as that person that is going to be in demand?
It's important that you're doing a couple things for yourself to make sure you're out there as strongly as possible. First is having a really powerful resume. People don't understand that the purpose of a resume is to get you an interview. Nothing else. That's the whole point. And if you think you have the most beautiful, wonderful resume in the whole world and you're not getting phone calls, you're not doing something right.
It must not be that good.
And that's okay. For one thing, not all people are very good writers. I mean, a lot of people are not. And the way that you have to write a resume can be very, very tedious and difficult. So making sure that you have someone who's able to look at it and give you good feedback, that's going to make all the difference in the world. And I think that's where people don't understand with Ohio Means Jobs. You can do that for free. Like, you don't have to pay a company to do that. You can come into our office and we will do a resume review with you for free.
Say that one more time, because people said, wait a minute, I don't believe what I just heard.
Yes, this is something that's completely free, that we will do a complete resume review with you. We will help you sit down and walk through it with you. If there are things that you need to add, things you need to subtract, we'll give you some really good feedback on how to make that resume stronger, and it's not going to cost you anything.
Are there some common things that people do wrong on their resume? Include things that, like your height and weight, or something that just doesn't matter.
Hobbies.
Yes, hobbies.
Hobbies.
My pets.
Oh, yes. And please don't do that, folks.
Right. Yes.
Well, resumes have really changed. We used to think of the traditional resume of having, objective, and then maybe your skills, and then your work experience and your education, and then your little references available on request at the end. No. Don't do that. No. That objective is just so generic, and it didn't tell the employer anything.
Everyone knows you want a job. That's your objective.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So have a summary statements, some real quick information about you that shows your successes, things that you have done in the workforce, powerful skills that you have that you can bring to an employer.
Here's what I'm really good at.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And when they're looking at jobs, they really need to look at the jobs that they are interested in and look at those, what are the key words that are being put into those job descriptions. Making sure that those key words are also part of your resume is so important because, applicant tracking systems are a thing. We talk about technology all the time. And there's a commercial right now, I think it's for Monster.com, where it shows a guy at a desk who's got stacks and stacks of resumes.
Yeah.
And he's just like flip. But that really doesn't happen anymore because technology has taken over that. What happens is people are applying online and that applicant tracking system is scanning. They're looking to see if the person has the skills that are needed. Do they have those keywords in there? Those are the ones that are actually getting them to a person to look at.
That's awesome.
So you really want to make sure you're doing that, because if you're not, they're never going to get to humanize.
There won't be any matchups.
That's right.
So the more matchups you have in your resume that are in their job description, then we got a match, and that's who then they gets shot to an actual individual to take a look and bring you in.
Exactly.
Well, that's going to be big news for a lot of people, I think.
Yes.
So when we're writing those job descriptions, then let's go back and help the hirer.
Yes.
How important is it to get keywords in there for the person that we are really looking for?
You need to be very knowledgeable about the job that you are hiring for. Depending on the size of the company, you may have a very small company or a medium-sized company, and you're not necessarily an expert at all the different positions. No one is going to know every single thing about every single position.
How many people will complain, my boss doesn't even know what I do?
Yes.
Yes, and yet you really ought to have the person who's leaving write the job description.
That's such a smart idea. It would make so much more sense if that person was actually doing it. So, making sure that as an employer that you're really being knowledgeable about the positions that you're hiring for, making sure that you're writing a job description that matches up with what you actually need, making sure that you're not just putting something in there because you'd like to have it and it sounds nice. What are the real skills that you need for the job? And being very aware of the difference between your hard skills and your soft skills. There are some employers now who, I'll tell you what, Susie, I've heard them say, I just want someone who's going to be on time, come to work every day, and pass a drug test.
Yes. We'll train you how to do the rest.
Yes.
Wow.
Now, of course, that's not the thing with every employer, but really making sure that you're doing the basics.
The basics
is so vital.
That was important for babysitting.
Yes. Right. Yes. Make sure you're on time. Make sure they go to bed on time.
Yes, right. And pass a drug test.
Exactly.
Yes. So every job needs these things.
Yes. So as an employer, though, you need to make sure, what do you actually need? What hard skills do you actually need? And then what other things are you looking at? And making that a very strong and effective job description. That's going to bring more of the right kind of persons to your door versus just kind of a large, nebulous, vague job description. There may be a lot of responsibilities for a job. Make sure that you're highlighting the primary things that you're looking for and what is the actual experience that you need. What are the actual skills that you need? If someone doesn't need to have 5 years experience, don't put 5 years experience on there. If they only need 2 years experience, put 2 years experience. Yeah, maybe you would like 5, and that would be wonderful in a pie-in-the-sky world. But if you can get someone in there who's going to do a great job and has 2 years experience, and that's going to be enough, put that on your job description. Because remember, you're weeding a lot of people out when you're being overly detailed on your job description. Make sure it's detailed. Make sure it's the right details.
Oh, that's such good advice. Yeah, because you might be talking somebody out of applying who would be outstanding because you put master's degree preferred. You prefer it, sure, but it's not necessary.
That's right.
So very, very good. All right. You do have a job fair coming up in Alliance. What's happening?
Yeah, it's going to be at the Alliance Senior Center on Tuesday, July 23rd from noon to 3. This job fair is going to have, I believe, they're cutting it off at 50 employers just because of the size of the venue. And last I heard, they're already at 35.
Wow.
So, think about that. We're still a month away, and there's almost all those slots are filled. So this is going to be another great opportunity for employers to connect with job seekers and for job seekers, both in the Alliance and the Stark County area, to be able to find a lot of employers that are doing active hiring right now.
Active hiring. What kinds of jobs? Can you tell me real quickly?
You know what? I'm not real sure right now. I believe that there's some different manufacturing. There's so much healthcare right now. So many needs in healthcare. But advanced manufacturing really is big. Your CNC, your HVAC, a lot of those different things are something that just really is necessary right now.
And somebody would be smart to go out there and get there. Is it the CDL, truck driving? That seems to be something that shows up quite often.
Yes, there is a lot of truck driving positions available right now.
There's a lot of driving positions, period. Amazon has become, coming to our doorstep every single day, and Grubhub and everything else. It just seems like if you like to drive, there's a lot of opportunities there.
That's true.
Well, okay, we're going to find out a little bit more about Ohio Means Jobs and the Business Resource Network after these words. You're listening to Our Community.